All right, guys, we are tech solved. Right. Woo! Yeah! All right. Feels quiet in here. Feels a little quiet. Let's do that one more time. Let's go. Woo! Yeah! All right, sweet. Guys, thanks so much for coming out today. I know this was a little bit of a slower start than we had planned. Luckily, we've got all day, and I'm in charge of the agenda, so I can flex some things around, thankfully, and none of you have seen an agenda, so we can flex some things around even more. But no, thanks everybody for coming out here. I am curious, who traveled the furthest to be here? Rob, I know you live in Spain, man. I don't know if that counts, though, but... I just came from the colony. Okay, all right, the colony, 25, 30 minutes from here. Who traveled the farthest? Maybe Pete?
I traveled farthest politically.
Politically. Pete lives in California, if you don't get that joke. Anybody further than California? Okay. New Jersey, I think that's our winner. All right, Amar, thanks for being here. You could almost say India because you were there a few weeks ago, right? You were there like last week this time? That's crazy. Okay, well, sweet. Guys, we got some fun stuff planned for today. This is, different. Raise your hand if you were at the Land Scaling Summit in September. Raise your hand. Okay, about a quarter of the room, half the room, sweet. This is going to be a very different event than that one. For the summit, big event, lots of people, lots of speakers up front. Today's a smaller event, more intimate. Most of you are in our inner circle community or a VIP member working with me one-on-one, and so you know what we're about here, right? Today, we're really going to be diving into what's stopping you from having the best year yet? What's in your way, right? I can talk technical, I can give you the formulas, I can do that stuff all day long. I teach that stuff a lot online. Today, I really want to figure out what's in your way, what's going on in your head that's actually stopping you from doing the work to have the best year ever. Raise your hand if you want to have a breakthrough year in 2025. Okay, everybody in the room. Nick, just making sure you want to have a breakthrough year in 2025. Yeah, let's go. Okay, sweet. So we all want to have a breakthrough year. This presentation is going to be a little woo-woo, a little energetic, maybe even a little motivational. I'll try not to get too rah-rah on you. But we're going to be talking about how to have a breakthrough year in 2025 through a lens that I really like. All right? So, guys, this presentation is kind of no frills. I just really want to hit some meat and potatoes on what's going on in your head and how we can have a breakthrough year. All right? I've got Tony Robbins up here. You haven't had a breakthrough? Right? That's my Tony Robbins impression if you guys have heard his voice before. But let's go ahead and get kicked off. What we'll be talking about this is first, I just want to dive into pains versus pleasure as motivators. Next, we'll be talking about finding enemies in your life and what that means. I know that sounds a little intense and a little scary, but we'll dive into why this makes sense. And last is how you can actually go about choosing an enemy for 2025 and use it as some good fuel, okay? So you've got notebooks and pens in front of you. I would encourage you to be taking notes. This is going to be interactive most of the day. And then we'll do questions and some stuff towards the end. So, first, I just want to point out a couple of things in my background. This is stuff I normally don't talk about in big groups, but we got a smaller group today. This is my community. I just want to tell you guys about where I started, where I'm coming from, and why I'm so passionate about sales and sales training, okay? If you didn't know, I grew up in a fatherless home. My dad left our family when I was 9 years old, picked up, sold our house, maxed out my mom's credit cards, and dipped. That was it. I haven't talked to him in over a decade. Sucked at the time, right? Was not good. We ended up moving from Chicago to southern Indiana. In that time, I was raised by my wonderful mother. All right, love my mom to death. She comes from a third world country, Nepal. If you guys haven't been, I can't decide if I would recommend it or not, but it's always cool to go over there and get some perspective. I remind myself I was one generation away from being born there. For some context, my mom's nickname growing up was Paki Garnani. The translation of that is girl from the stone house. Because she was the only girl in her village she grew up in that had a stone house. Everybody else was in not stone houses, to give you some context. Okay? So, after that, I grew up in a college town in Indiana. So I was in a fatherless home with a mom that had a third world education that grew up in a remote village where her nickname was Paki Garnani and grew up in a college town in Indiana. If that's not the perfect playbook, a recipe for success, I don't know what is, right? So here's some fun stats of just growing up in a fatherless home that really kind of jack me up. Children in father-absent homes are 4 times more likely to experience poverty, are 10 times more likely to abuse chemical substances. 90% of all homeless and runaway children are from fatherless homes, And individuals from fatherless homes are 20 times more likely to be incarcerated than those from two-parent households. Okay? There's two things I want to glean from here. Number one, again, guys, the odds, not in my favor. Okay? I'm not saying this to get a little boo-hoo, but we're going to be talking about what I did with that. All right? Number two, though, is for those of you that are fathers, I just want to emphasize how important it is that we take care of business here so we can serve our families back home. This is really important stuff. And fortunately, unfortunately, this is a very male-dominated room today, right? So this is super important stuff. Now, again, not sharing this, I don't want anybody's sympathy. I grew up how I grew up, and I am who I am today. But I just want you guys to understand, I did not grow up with things in my favor, all right? Now, today, fast forward, by the grace of God, I got plugged in with great people, really good Christian communities growing up, and I found the phones, okay? And for those of you that have heard some of my training online, heard me on the phones live, I think it's really easy to look at me today and be like, man, Ajay just gets it, dude. He's a natural on the phones, right? Raise your hand if you ever thought that listening to one of my calls. Yeah? Cool. I remember a time where I remember my second deal closing. I get this phone call, and I'm using Google Voice at the time. You guys use Google Voice, right? So it's a free service that you add onto your phone. I remember I'd sent out 1,000 blind offers in Poinciana, Florida. So right next to Orlando, secondary market, about 30 minutes away, growing area. And I get this call from a Florida area code. And I'm like, they got one of my mailers. And at this point, guys, I'd done one deal successfully, full cycle. And I see the number, and my heart just starts racing. Like an Eminem song, literally feel my palms getting sweaty, right? I'm getting nervous. And so I'm like, dude, you got to pick up the phone. You got to pick up the phone, right? Like, you just got to do this. You already spent the money on the mail. And I answer, and I go, hello? Right? Like, I'm scared on this call, guys. And I remember picking up, and this guy's like, hello, this is Andrew Coronius. And that is the actual seller's name. I probably shouldn't be saying that, but here we are. And I'm like, hey, Andrew, what can I do for you, man? Like, guys, I've got no idea what I'm doing here, okay? And then we ended up having a conversation. Now, thankfully, I do have a natural ability to build relationships with people. And through that, I was able to get this guy's trust, ended up buying his property from him for, I think it was $77.50, and I flipped it for $28,000, right? But guys, I have vivid memories of wanting to vomit every time I needed to make a lowball offer to a seller. Like, guys, I understand it's not comfortable every day to make a $30K offer on a $65K property. I understand how you're feeling in your head when you're doing this. I was telling Ben last week, I still get nervous on the price drop sometimes. Like, this is real stuff, right? Like, I've been doing this for years now. I train on this stuff. Triple dialing still makes me uncomfortable sometimes. It's scary, it's uncomfortable, but that's okay, right? Because here's the cool thing, is I get to stand up here today now, years later, having done real estate for almost a half decade, room of 30 killers, and we get to talk about how do you use the stuff from your past? How do you find something to compete against so that you can build a better life for yourself? And now I'm grateful to say Ben and I have done 7 figures in real estate deals. I have a coaching community that I'm super proud of, and we're here and we all get to get better, right? The thing I'm so passionate about when it comes to sales is it's really whatever you make of it. If you are willing to pick up the phone today, I can guarantee you will make more money, right? Now, there's a few things in terms of honing skill sets and doing some activities, but there is a certain comfort in knowing if you hone this skill, your family will never go hungry again, all right? And I don't know about you guys, but that's the stuff that fuels me, right? Can I get an amen? Amen. All right. So we're going to be diving into what does that actually look like, right? And I mentioned we're going to be talking about motivation. So let me ask you guys, what's something nice you want? Somebody give me something nice you want. House, car, yacht. Someone give me something in the audience. House. Okay, Nick, tell me about that house. What does it look like?
Like 3-2.
3-2, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,800 square feet, right? How are the kitchens and bathrooms?
Acre of land.
Acre of land. Okay, nice. Cool, man. How often do you think about that house? Every day. Okay, cool. What's something else you guys want? Ford Raptor? Yeah. Okay, sweet, man. What kind? There we go. All right, I love it, right? How often do you think about the Ford Raptor? Every day. Cool, man, cool. So that's a motivation, right? Those are things that you want, right? You may have pictures of them up in your room. You may have thoughts of them. Guys, I'll tell you, I'm a little crazy, okay? If you've known me for a little time, I'm actually a lot crazy, okay? My wife and I frequently have discussions about whether we're going to charter or own a jet because I'm so crazy. And her mom frequently tells me that it's really expensive and not worth it to get a jet and ends up being not economical. And that's okay because I've got a 40-year vision where you're not going to stop me and I'm going to be flying private sometime in the near future, okay? That's a motivational driver, though. That's something where I'm seeking a pleasure at some level. On the other end, you've got pain, okay? If somebody has a knife to your throat, are you pretty motivated to get out of that situation? Yes. Quickly? Yep. Okay. You want a 3-bedroom house. Are you motivated to get into that situation quickly? Maybe, maybe not. In that quick example, though, you can see having pain as a motivator is a stronger driver than seeking pleasure. So guys, I'm king. I love the vision boards. I've got, vision boards on my cork board of how much money in my bank account, which actually I need to change because my wife and I switched from Bank of America over to Chase, and that screenshot is a Bank of America account. I have Photoshoppers do all kinds of crazy stuff. My poor assistant, Kaylee, the amount of stuff I throw at her where I'm like, hey, I need you to Photoshop my face in this thing right now. And she's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, just hire someone on Fiverr. You got it, right? I love the vision boards. I love seeking pleasure. But if you really want to drive yourself, we need to talk about what it looks like to use pain as a motivator. Now, I know a lot of you in this room fairly well personally, and it's safe to say most of our bills are covered. Like, I don't know everybody. I don't know your bank accounts. I don't know what your monthly burn rate is. That's not my business. But what I do know, very few people here are stressed about like being out on the streets next month if something doesn't change. Is that fair to say? And so because of that, you have the risk of getting comfortable. All right? You have the risk of getting comfortable, and I'm still guilty of it. I just had a conversation with my wife a few nights ago where I was like, I'm getting comfortable. Money's been good the past couple of months. I'm getting comfortable, right? And so I got to get my back against the wall. And so when you get comfortable, the motivators seem nice, but you're not thinking about the pain to really drive you, okay? So today we're going to be talking about how do we find pain, right? It already exists in our lives at some level, and how do we use that to really drive us to have a breakthrough 2025. Is this tracking? Does this make sense? Are you guys, okay, sweet. I'm seeing some nods. So I want to do an exercise right now. We're going to pause here just for a couple of minutes, all right? I want you guys to take 3 to 4 minutes and really think about literally the top 3 most painful moments of your life. Somebody talked smack to you. Something bad happened. You lost a job. You didn't get one. You got rejected. Just like sit in it, jot it down in your notebooks. I'm not going to ask everybody to come up here and share them later, so as personal as you need, don't worry. There will be a quiz later. But let's just take 3 minutes maybe. Jot down some of the most painful memories that you guys have. All right, I see most of you guys have written some stuff down. Let me ask, I don't need any of you guys to share anything right now. How did you feel writing some of that stuff down? Just emotionally. Call out, just scream it out. What did you feel? Anger. Good. What else? Sadness. Okay. Fuel. That's right. Pissed. Okay, Pete. Good. The point of this exercise is to make you realize, like everybody said, sadness, fuel, pissed, anger. That stuff will drive you. But we got to make sure we channel it in the right direction, okay? Is it okay if I could just get a little bit vulnerable with you guys? Would that be okay? Again, that's the thing I love about these small, intimate settings. I don't mind sharing. You guys are welcome to, no pressure. But again, I just explained how I grew up. I'm not looking for pity. I don't need it. I'm my own man. But I'll never forget growing up. So my family comes from Nepal, Asian culture. And I'm going to get choked up talking about this. But because of that, the nuclear family, important here in the U.S. Over in Asian cultures, though, it is extremely taboo to be, getting divorced, people leaving, that sort of thing. So when my dad walked out on us, people started talking about and looking at my family as if there was something wrong with us, right? The amount of times I overheard conversations about people talking smack about my mom. You want to really get me riled up? Say something about my mom and watch what happens, right? Family members belittling my brother and I, calling out, hey, these guys, they're growing up without a dad. They're going to end up dead in jail on drugs, whatever. Family members, right? People that are supposed to have your back. We're talking that about us because our dad wasn't present in my life. And I remember, Ben, I remember telling you this vividly on a walk. I was living in Chicago at the time. I remember where I was, and I was like, dude, I'm going to get to the point where the next time somebody ever talks shit about my mom, I will call them up and say, I will write you a $50,000 check right now to never talk to us again. And look at my eyes right now. I'm not joking. All right? Don't disrespect my family. That stuff riles me up. So when I'm thinking about triple dialing a seller, the question I ask myself is, hey, do I care more about taking care of my family and making sure they're comfortable and making sure people are treating them with respect, or making a seller a little uncomfortable because I hit the dial the third time, right? What really matters here, okay? So just trying to shift some thoughts here. Now, the power of having, again, we're going to be calling this an enemy. The goal of our exercise today is to take pain and define it. What is this thing that is my enemy? All right? And I want you guys to think, like, in business, it's so much harder to have a true enemy. Like when you're younger, do you guys play sports growing up, right? The other team was the enemy. Easy, right? We're going to bury Perry Meridian into the ground. Real easy to think about it, right? As an adult in business, what am I competing against? Myself in the past, performance, KPIs, but dude, that stuff doesn't wake me up. Right? I'm not like, yeah, let's hit 8 contracts this month. It's like, it's great in the rah-rah, but it's not like I wake up with that fuel in my eyes. It's a different feeling. And so the power of having that defined and called out is a couple of things. Number one, if you can rally against people, right, you become united with people that know your enemy. Right? If you guys are married, I really encourage you to have this discussion with your spouse when you go home. What are some enemies in my life? Because if you guys are united and they know what you're trying to attack, they're not going to be mad at you for working too long. Right? They're not going to say, babe, you're working too hard. It's like, I got to crush this thing, right? For those of you that were at the summit, you knew we threw a gala where we fundraised money to fight human trafficking. If you don't know about human trafficking, that is the biggest criminal enterprise on the planet right now. We have tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of people who are literally still slaves and their bodies are being sold repeatedly for unimaginable things, right? That's an enemy of mine. When I make money, I get to donate towards that cause of fighting human trafficking. That fires me up, right? There's this expression I heard in church once that said, evil only wins when good does nothing, right? Evil only wins when good does nothing. I would imagine most of us in this room identify as good. Is that fair to say? So if you can think of evil in your life, that's the other side. That's the enemy. You better be fighting the good fight. And if you're not, you're doing nothing, man. You're going to let them win. A lot of this is through the lens of competition, though, and most business owners are pretty competitive. Is that fair to say? I know my wife, Erin, she's very competitive. If you ever play a board game with her, good luck. You will not win. I promise. Ask Ben. He's had some game nights with us. You will not win. Settlers of Catan, Uno, cover your assets. It does not matter. This woman is relentless on the games, okay? We've all got that competition in us, and this is here to unlock that for you, for your teams, and to get aligned on what we're fighting against, okay? So knowing exactly who that is and what it looks like brings out your competitive edge. And I don't know about you guys, but I am the best version of myself when I'm competing. When I know who I'm fighting against, like y'all know the movies Rocky, right? Like he's got an enemy, you know who he's fighting, right? It's so clear. And so we're going to play a little game actually, all right? Anybody know who this guy is right here? Mufasa's son Simba. He's a little bit older right here. I'm sorry, I should have painted him as the kid. The Lion King though, right? Who's the enemy in the Lion King? Anybody know? Scar, that's right. Look at that. Okay, something rile you up thinking about Scar letting his brother die. Okay, movies do a great job of painting who's the villain. Because when we have a villain and somebody to fight against, it gets something in us. Like, man, when he just lets Mufasa die so he can rule the kingdom, you're like, you're a piece of poop, dude. I hate you, right? Next, anybody know who that is? Mufasa, exactly. No, yeah, Batman. Who's the villain of that story? Joker, that's right. Keith Ledger. No, I'm just kidding. So yes, Batman, Joker. We know who the villain is. When we know who the villain is, again, you feel some type of way. Last one. Who's that? Luke. Any Luke in particular? Or just who's his villain? Big Daddy. In German, Darth Vader translates to Dark Father, I think. So something like that. Yeah. Yeah, Robin, can you? What is Darth Vader? What's Vader? Is Vader father? No. I wouldn't know, man. I grew up without one. All right, so cut me some slack. All right, we're going to disregard that for a second. Fake news in the back. Robin's wearing a hat that says "I buy land." Not even true. He sells land. No. Thank you, Robin. Point is, though, we've got a clear villain of the story, so it's really easy to follow a plot. It's really easy to watch the montage and say, I want this guy to win, right? You don't know who the villain is of your story right now because you're comfortable. And when you don't know who the villain is and you don't know who you're fighting, you're not fighting. You guys remember when you were starting your businesses, when you got the new job, how much fire you had in you to make something happen, right? And then you hit a level of success where you're starting to bring in money, your things are okay, or when do we ever use the expression like, we're good? We'll be good for a few months. We're good. Everything's okay right now. I'm guilty of it. That is poison in your brain, all right? So the point here is I want you guys to think through who that enemy might be in your life. You wrote down some painful moments. Those might be the fuel for what we're getting into. Those might be who we need to be fighting going into 2025, okay? But with the right enemy, I wrote, you will thrive. You guys remember this little meme kid? He's a lot older now, but hashtag winning. The goal for us is to win, and so we're going to go through an exercise talking about 14 types of enemies, and this is through the lens of, anybody know Patrick Bet-David, Choose Your Enemies Wisely? So he wrote this book, Patrick Bet-David wrote this book called Choose Your Enemies Wisely, which is where I'm gleaning a lot of these topics from, and I'm trying to make them my own, but he wrote this book, Choose Your Enemies Wisely. It's a phenomenal book, and in the book, he's got 14 different types of enemies. So let's talk through some of these together right now, right? There's outside yourself, there's inside yourself, okay? Outside yourself, you've got someone you hate. Pretty easy, right? This dude sucks, I hate him, right? Enemy, easy. Number 2 is relatives who try to hold you back. I told you we have some stuff like that in our life, right? Those are easy to look at and be like, screw them, right? Number 3 is manipulators. People that have manipulated you in your life, taken advantage of you, right? Anybody like being taken advantage of? Me neither. Right? Number 4 is gossipers. People ever talk smack about you? As entrepreneurs, as salespeople, I guarantee people are talking smack about you, whether you know it or not, right? Number 5, someone to prove wrong, all right? Somebody that told you, dude, you're not Jack. You got these big dreams. You think you're going to make $500,000 this year? You think you're going to make $1 million this year? Come on, buddy. We're normal people, dude. We went to the same college. Who do you think you are? You got to prove them wrong, all right? They didn't believe in you. But you believed in you, and that's what matters. Number 6, an ex-spouse or former business partner. Again, if a relationship didn't work out, that can be really good fuel. And notice, ex and former. I have pitfalls in a later slide, but I'm just going to encourage everybody right now, do not make your spouse, do not make your kids your enemy. Some people do because they're like, oh, my wife told me not to start this business. Dude, that's not it. You do not want conflict inside of your household, okay? Number 7, someone who doubts you, speaks for itself. Number 8, people who quit on you, right? We're vision dreamers. We're vision casters here, right? Like, we dream. People that were attached to that dream and then quit on you, prove them wrong, right? We'll come back to 9 on this side in a second because I think it's some of the best. Within yourself, scarcity mindset. One for me is poverty. I hate poverty. I grew up in poverty. That sucks. I like being rich a lot more than I like poverty, okay? But there's scarcity mindset. We got to fight that stuff. Number 2, your own limited thinking, right? If you've got small visions, like half the battle in our brains is the self-talk we tell ourselves, all right? Number 3 is your ego. Your ego. If you ever stop yourself from making a triple dial because you don't want to embarrass yourself, if you ever stop yourself making a lowball offer because you don't want them to laugh at you, hang up on you, curse at you, laugh at you. Why do they laugh, man? You make your offer and they're, yeah, that's not going to work, right? I'm like, geez, dude. All right. But your ego stops you from making the offer at all. Number 4, contentment and mediocrity. Who here wants to be average? Raise your hand if you want to be average. I thought AJ was about to raise his hand. Nobody. Okay, great. That's a great enemy. And anytime you feel like you're getting complacent, ask yourself, am I being average right now? And number 5 is fear of success. Okay, so that's sometimes we hit what's called an upper limit threshold, where you hit a level of success you've never hit before, and your brain literally says you are not worthy of that. You do not deserve that, even if you did the work. And you literally will manifest sickness. You will stop working, you'll get lazy, you'll self-sabotage, you'll fire people that are bringing in money, you'll hire people that aren't, you'll get distracted, you'll start another business. Like there's a million things that happen when you have fear of success, and there's head work you need to be doing to be mindful of that, okay? Now, number 9 on the outside yourself is one of my favorites, all right? People who are beating you because their vision and accomplishments are greater than yours. I don't know about you guys, but if you're competitive, that riles me up. Like, you ever met some people that are making way more money than you, and you're like, dude, you suck. Like, you literally just suck. Like, how are you making 4 times more money than me right now? You don't work hard, your mindset's trash, you're a bad leader, whatever it is. But the fact of the reality is money's a consequence of good business, and they're better at business than you if they're winning. Tough pill to swallow. Money's just a success metric, guys. Right? And so people that are beating you, that's really good fuel, all right? Let's pause for, again, like 90 seconds. If anything in here is calling out to you, scan through it again. Take a picture if you want. I'm happy to send this out in WhatsApp or whatever if you guys are in the WhatsApp group. I'll even do this. So I have one copy of this book right here, Choose Your Enemies Wisely by Patrick Bet-David. If anybody wants a copy of this book, I'll pay for it to be shipped to you. Just go talk to Bree and have her take down your name, and we'll send you a copy for you being here and wanting to have a breakthrough year in 2025. So I love reading books. I own both this copy and the audio. Thanks, y'all. But yeah, let's take 90 seconds, jot some down, tell me if anything comes to mind. Well, you don't need to tell me necessarily, but go ahead and write some stuff down. See if there's some good fuel in there. While you guys are finishing up your thoughts, I want to share, Alex Hormozy, pretty big, business guy, YouTube guy, whatever you want to call him. He puts out a lot of banger content, right? I remember he shared this story about his father, was basically his fuel for a very long time, because his father told him, hey, dude, what are you doing? You got a good, cushy consulting job. You're making 6 figures at 23. Why are you leaving that to go work at a gym, right? And he used that as his fuel. And to the point where he was like, I'm going to make more money than my dad as a doctor, to I'm going to make more in a month than he makes in a year, to I'm going to make more in a year than he makes in a lifetime. And then finally, he got there. And, his dad basically told him, like, hey, I'm sorry, you were right. And Hormozy likes to share, like, you're giving people all this power when you're doing that stuff. And I'm like, dude, easy for you to say with 20 mil in the bank now, right? But that stuff fueled you to get there. Like, that was your chip on your shoulder, man. What bad advice to tell people to remove the chip after you have $20 million in the bank? Yeah, go ahead. Go to the therapy that you can afford now. Go do what you need to do. Work through it. I'm not encouraging you to not process through anything in your life that was painful, guys. I got a life coach. I've been working with him 4 years. Like, I'm all about that stuff, all right? What I would say is don't listen to the advice out there that's, dude, that's bad. That's, that's the dark side. You don't need to tap into that. That's BS, man. If somebody broke into your home and was threatening your family, would you say, no, I'm not going to defend him, man, that stuff's bad? Exactly. This is the same thing. Now I have to ask, does anybody, no pressure, is anybody feeling led to share what their enemy is right now that maybe they jotted down? You don't need to. If anybody wants to raise their hand, anybody feeling inclined, I know this is personal, you definitely don't have to. Amar, dude, what you got?
Yeah, I don't mind. I had a former boss who I worked for 8 years. Thought I had a really good relationship with him. And when our company got taken over by another company, I saw his recommendation letter to the new boss. And I saw what he had to say about it. And that's one of the biggest pain points of mine. It was bad.
Are you willing to share anything?
Yeah, I mean, look, we had a really close relationship. I thought he was kind of a mentor for me. You know, I looked up to the guy a lot. And one of the things he called me, I'll share, is he called me a commodity.
A commodity?
Replacement.
How'd that make you feel?
Terrible. Terrible. Like just, like what I did for the last 8 years meant nothing. And everything he had told me and kind of taught me over the past, over those years, was all kind of fake. You know, so it felt like living a lie.
I agree.
And then a lot of self-doubt crept in. Like,
Absolutely. Somebody you look up to
yeah.
says that kind of stuff. Self-doubt's definitely going to creep in.
Yeah.
Let me ask, who feels like they were put on this earth to do something big? Yeah? I agree. I think you guys are here for a reason. I think, I'll tell you, I started preparing a presentation on technical sales training, and my heart wasn't there. I was like, I don't feel like that's what this group needs. I think we need to dive into our brains a little bit and figure out, like, where in our lives have people referred to us as a commodity? Amar, you were put here to do big things, brother. You were not here to be a commodity, man. To refer to you the same way I would refer to, like, steel ore in the ground is disgusting. Right? But it's your job to prove it wrong. We still got to do the work, right? That's the stuff that riles me up, man. If I was you, I'd throw the word commodity in my shower. I'd throw it up on my desk. I'd throw it in my office. Every time I look at that thing, dude, I'm pissed. Right? But I can tell, dude. I see it. I see it. Anybody else? Again, Pete. Yes, please.
A few years ago when I was in corporate world, I was working at Fortune 500 company, my fiance passed, and
sorry, man.
The manager said the right things, like, you take the time you need, and da-da-da-da. After a couple of weeks, got everything settled, and I'm like, I need to get back to work. I want to sit alone in my house,
totally.
And it was good to get back to work, but like literally a week later, I just tweaked that goal for the month, even though I missed half the month, and they ended up writing me up.
No way.
So just all that to say, like, there was 10 other stories I could tell you about.
Sure.
Those kind of things happen in corporate, but I'm just like, that's why I mean, it's just that kind of BS and makes no sense at all. For no good reason. Like, it's not about meritocracy, it's not about, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, or even people, you know?
Yeah.
I end up, you're a commodity, right, in that space. So that's why I don't want to go back to a W-2 type corporate.
Never. Okay, so what is it, these are good questions to be processing, whether you answer it now or later. What does it look like to beat that enemy, right? Ask yourself that question. Of like, where does it look like I beat him, right? And what is it going to feel like when you do?
Yeah, well, to some level I feel like I have, but not to the level yet,
Right.
But I haven't had a corporate or a W-2 type job for 2+ years.
Good.
Yeah.
Congrats,
Yeah,
man.
about 2 years, so that's first level of success. Yeah, but
Totally.
Way more levels, right?
Love it, man. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, thank you.
Anybody else want to share? Josh? Oh, we're getting some. I love it. Sorry, I'm already passing around the mic with you, man.
Mine's not a person. Mine's myself. And the big one is scarcity mindset.
Good. What does that mean for you?
I feel like, I hate to even put this out in ether right now, but I feel like I spent so much of my life trying to escape the feeling of not having enough. Not having enough time, not having enough money.
So it's scarcity on resources in general, not just money.
Yeah. Yeah, like fighting the calendar, fighting my schedule, like I don't have time to do everything I need to do today. The big one is really like not money.
Okay.
And to be 36 years old and to know that I'm into big things and know that I'm like on the cusp in the middle of a breakthrough, but also still fighting cash flow problems. And,
Always.
Trying to pay the team on time and all that stuff. Just like fucking grind. But
Anybody else here have cash flow problems ever as real estate investors? I get it, man.
But yeah, I just feel like it's kind of ongoing theme my entire life. From a kid, I feel like that's kind of what I was programmed. I feel like that's what we're gonna spend our life trying to escape this, this quicksand feeling.
Totally. What do you think it looks like to beat that? It might not be an answer you have right now.
No, I'm just thinking that when you just asked Pete, and I think what it looks like to beat that is create a level of abundance within myself, nothing outside of me. right? Like, I think the problem's always been looking for the answer outside of me.
Yeah.
Looking for it in the bank account, looking for it in the tangible resources, but rather creating that abundance inside of myself that, like reminding myself of things I know, like no matter what, I always do it now.
Right.
It's good.
That's great, man. That's great. Thanks for sharing. I saw a couple other hands go up. Did I see yours?
Oh,
Coming to you, brother.
I'll share.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you guys being willing to share. Bree, we're definitely going to go over if you can hear me.
So I share some similarities with Ajay, actually. Not a great father.
Sorry,
and the more I think about it, actually, Blake got me. Like you're next to me, got me thinking about it even more. But this is a great fuel to have. This guy, extremely abusive to my family. We actually had to be kidnapped from other family members in order to escape this man.
Wow.
And the fuel comes from how he treated my mother, locked my brother and my mom in the house, not letting them go grocery shopping, treating them like property. And so breaking free of that, I was very young, so but breaking free of that really looks like being able to give my children, this meant more to me now once we became a father than ever before, because I'm sure you relate to this stuff, like, dude, screw that guy, I don't care.
Yeah.
And you don't think about it. And as time goes on, you think about it less and less and less.
Absolutely.
And so it means less and less you think about it. But as something brings you back, having kids, to imagine this end out there somewhere, my actual biological father, to think that would be a proud accomplishment for someone that he gives no crap. It's a great fuel, when I think about it, to be able to say, I will never feel like I need it until I'm on my deathbed. And I can say I gave my kids everything that he did not give me. So I just want to share that. I think that's
Absolutely.
it.
Thank you for sharing, man. That's tough. That's great. Anybody else have anything you want to share? Jackson, coming to you.
I can talk loud.
Talk loud.
So I'm an acquisitions manager. We had a new guy start a few weeks ago, and that's been a good motivator. It's like his first, I've been in a drought, so I'm like, first 2 months of the year, no new contracts. He comes in 2 weeks, he's got 300 developed. So we're on the same team. I'm glad he's getting contracts, but I want to be right there with him.
For sure.
That's been a good motivator the last few weeks, for sure.
That's great.
Yeah. Yeah, like that self-doubt kind of creeps in, right? Like where I'm, looking, so I've been there about a year, I'm looking toward, hoping to move up in a more senior role, and I'm like, well, if this guy's, crushing it, then why would they move me up, right? So it's that self-doubt.
Totally. And then even when you start doubting, you almost start looking for failure. That's my encouragement to you, is careful in your subconscious, because you almost wake up and you're like, oh, he got another PA. There he goes again, right? Like if you guys ever see the guys on the internet, and I'm guilty of this as one of those guys, but they post their wires and they post their success, and you're like, dang, like Ajay just got another deal, dude, and I've been dry for a month, right? You got to be really careful of the stories you tell yourself, man. And like Josh was talking about, just reminding ourselves of abundance. There is so much land out there. Like, dude, we could probably have you hit the phones and lock something up in your dead pile today. But you got to believe it before it's going to happen. Otherwise, any of that doubt's going to carry into every single one of those phone calls, and you're basically going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy where you tell yourself, I've been in a dry spell and I don't know when it's going to end. Dude, just eradicate those words. Every day's a new day. You wake up and say, today I'm going to get a contract. You do it enough and it'll happen. I'll tell this story too. So Ben and I have been playing in the distressed acquisitions playpen a little bit. We're going kind of hard in it. And so Ajay here bought a new headset. And the other day, I told my wife, I said, Erin, tonight I'm going to be working late. So let's just get some takeout. We'll eat dinner whenever. But I'm going to be working until probably 7:38. And so I finished at meetings around 4 o'clock. I went for a quick walk to refresh my brain. I threw on the headset. All right. And I don't know if you guys have headsets, but they honestly, there's like a mental piece that happens when you throw them on. You feel a little bit more legit. I like one on both ears because it's noise canceling. So I'm like super ADHD, so I need to make sure nothing distracts me. Audio quality is good. Your hands can go other places, right? And so I'm dialing. I probably have 8 conversations. I make, 3 or 4 different offers and pitches, and I'm dry. And I'm just like, dude, I told myself today, I said it to Ben, I said, I'm getting a deed today, bro. Like, I am not finishing the day without. And so I went into my dead pile of somebody that had blocked me on 2 phone numbers, and her husband blocked me on 1, and I called her husband on the other. And we're supposed to be getting that signed tonight. We've got a mobile notary going to him tonight at 8 p.m. Nice. So the point being, like, man, I was in a dry spell, and I just woke up that day and decided I got to tell myself a different story. So my encouragement to you here, man, is just be so careful of the stories you tell yourself, right? Because you're a killer, dude. You've been doing this for how long? About a year. You know how to do the job, man. You're going to get it done. Anything else you want to add?
No, it's just been a good motivator, and I'm successfully this week out of that dry spell. So
Good.
Let's go!
Let's go. Doesn't exist anymore. Jackson, do you have something you're going to share?
Yeah, so this is one, it just makes my heart race every time, but it's the epidemic of suicide. I've lost 3 people really close to me to that over the years.
I'm sorry, man.
My father, just after I turned 1, so really didn't know him.
Wow.
My best friend's younger brother growing up, we played football together, and we was out of the blue. And then one of my best friends in college.
Wow.
He had just graduated. I remember he called me 2 days. He was working in insurance. Asking me for leads, how I could get, who I could get him in touch with my network. I said, yeah, dude, I'll help you out. And 2 days later, I was sitting in the library and, got that news. So
wow.
It's just, over the course of my life, I've lost, folks really close to me due to that. And it's just like living a life that's going to be, living your life wisely and, using your time to, maximize yourself and kind of be a voice for those who didn't think that they could reach that level of success, I guess.
Yeah.
There's a lot of thoughts that go through your head with it. And a cool thing, after my friend in college, who was a fraternity brother of mine, we started, we said, how do we make something good out of this? And we started a fundraiser called Fighting Against Suicide.
Wow.
And it was a boxing event that we started at the University of Georgia 5 years ago. And it really caught traction. I actually MC the events. So
that's awesome.
I'm a Bruce Buffer type guy.
Yeah.
I go to all of them. And we just got back from Tuscaloosa. We're starting to expand. We're doing another 2 at other universities. So our brand is blowing up.
That's awesome, man.
So
that's
just
awesome.
Kind of my side passion. It's not a shameless plug, but it's a really big side passion for me, and it's just something that I dive into so hard and get so motivated to it. So
yeah.
Just translating that into all other areas of my life, just trying to be the best you can.
Absolutely.
Time, in all phases of your life. That's just something that recently, that event has kind of allowed me to put all that in perspective.
Absolutely.
And I really just want to be great in everything we do. So.
Agreed, man. My encouragement to you here, because that's heavy stuff, man. Thank you for sharing. In causes like that, remind yourself, the more success you have, the more income you bring in, easier to get brand awareness. You can pay for it a lot faster, right? People like to say money this, money that. Dude, you can buy your way into rooms. You can buy your way into publicity. It sounds like you're getting great traction there. Use that as fuel, man. Use that as fuel when you're hitting those phones and getting those dials in, because every time you're successful for yourself, you win for the cause, right? So good work there, though, man. I know that stuff's not easy to start, really hard to facilitate, especially guys that are a little bit younger. It's dude, I don't know what I'm doing. Anyone here really know what they're doing? Anyone? Cool, me neither, right? So you're crushing it, man. You're doing the right things. Thank you for sharing that. This has been a really fun session so far, guys. Anybody else have anything they want to share before we move on? I wasn't expecting this to be that much shared and to get that heartfelt, but I appreciate you guys being willing to open up. Like I said, these smaller groups are cool because I want to get real and raw and tackle stuff that actually matters in our life. Robin, dude, come on. This is our guy with the fake German that allegedly sells some land, buys land.
Man, I got to share a couple of things, and not many people know, right? But that's a great group to be here. So thank you guys for having us.
Of course.
I'm an entrepreneur, 15 years now, founder of 25 companies in my life. So that's the business side of that. In the course of my career, I got fraud for $1 million. I burned out in 2018 pretty bad. Because I didn't control my emotions at this point. I had a lot of losses. I also in the past 12 years on 18 funerals, close family members, close friends. Which is pretty tough, and what happens to me is I stay in that emotion of being angry for a long time, of being sad, of being full of all this negative energy. In 2018, I had a burnout, and when I mean burnout, that means I didn't take part in life for 6 months. You see me standing here today, right? Talk a lot and all that, but was 6 months like that. Like, nothing. I was set on vacation and all that. And I got the coach out of that. Like one of the two biggest things I learned there, this is what I want to share with you, is because pain can be a huge motivator. I see that. It's how we transfer it, because you ever hear about the law of polarity? You know
Tell
what
us.
that is? Okay, the law of polarity is we're the most known in the South Pole, right? Plus and minus. Always when there's a minus, there's a plus. And this is what we need to take out. Right? And what needs to there is one thing that helped me a lot, helps me today, is forgiveness. Forgive yourself, forgive the people who do that to you, because in the end, the moment where you do that, you give it back to them. No charge. You can take that, use that as a motivator. Like Ari could share, right? And my dad, just use it and all that. Hey, yeah, I will never be like my dad. I will be the best version of myself for my children and all that, right? This is the translation that needs to happen, but I just wanted to share two things. The law of polarity, when you're at your lowest, and it happens to us, right? The more money you make, the bigger your problems will be, right? Like from the perspective where you are today, right?
Yeah.
Like at one point, like maybe when you're W2, $50,000 in debt is your problem, right? When you run a $1 billion company, $50,000 is like what you spend on lunch, right? Like so, it's like always a matter of perspective. And I guess these two things help me a lot, like always focusing when you're down, what is the upside? What can I learn? How did I get there? What can I do different to not be there anymore? Second, forgive yourself and everybody else involved, because that gives you the translation of giving you the upside in these situations. Because, yeah, then you're like, feeling good, feeling happy, feeling like you get something positive, like you're really impressive, like you were sharing that, right? That fuels you, that gives you the I guess this is what I want to share.
Thank you, Robin. Man, where do I spend 50 grand on lunch? We're not doing that today, guys. We're catering Chipotle, so hope everybody likes Chipotle.
Quick question on that topic?
On lunch?
No, I was
Oh! Sure, Bree, we're way over schedule. We're just going to commit at this point. We'll keep it rolling. Go ahead,
This
Pete.
was really helpful, and I realized, like,
You want the mic?
Sure. I realized that, you know, how I said I kind of, 2 years, I kind of beat that enemy, but first level. But I realized that put two and two together, I'm kind of in that, a little bit into that contentment mediocrity, right?
Yeah.
I feel like I beat it to some level.
Yeah.
So
You don't feel like you're running from it anymore.
Yeah,
That's the difference.
The tiger's not about to bite my house.
Exactly.
So that's my question, is like, do I need an enemy or just look at that enemy as bigger again? And what would you do, or what have you done?
So it's a really good question, Pete. And oh wait, we had the mic, so I don't have to repeat the question. Here's how I think about this, and I'm actually going to go to the next slide because there's some pitfalls here that we need to be mindful of. The last bullet point there is graduate to new enemies. Okay, I don't know if that's applicable to you or not, but look, if you're comparing yourself to your high school buddies and be like, bro, they're all working at, and I'm not disrespecting anybody's line of work when I say this, but like they're all working at like Subway or Walmart, and they're, you know, making whatever, you know, 30 grand a year, that's fine, and I'm doing this, so I'm better than them. You know, maybe that was fuel because they told you were normal way back when, but I'm not going to continue using that as fuel if I'm trying to net $1 million this year. Like, that's just bad fuel. It's bad competition, right? If I played in the NBA and I'm like, yo, dude, these K-5 basketball players, I got them beat, you know? Like, that's bad competition, guys. You're not getting better. Okay, so I can't answer that question for you, Pete. You know, part of that is you're like, this is great that we can do this in an hour-long session in the morning, but you're gonna have to dig deep, man, you know, and figure out, like, where do you start feeling like when I poke at you, where do you get riled up, right? And it changes, man. It changes, right? So you got to graduate to new enemies is a really good point. So just figure that out. It might be that. It might be some piece of that. It might be like, hey, dude, you're getting comfortable. Like there's different ways to play it. So got to dig deep, figure out when I poke what hurts, right? Like I said, don't choose your spouse or children. You do not want conflict within the house. You want them to be on board with the enemies that you're fighting. Don't choose enemies that are smaller than you. It's kind of going hand in hand in what we're talking about here, right? So like if you were competing against business owners at one level and, you know, hey, we're trying to break 6 figures. We hit 6 figures. Hey, I'm trying to hit $500,000. I hit $500,000. Well, stop competing with the guys you were competing with when you made 6 figures, You got to find new competitors, right? You want to be in the the bottom 20% of most rooms that you're in. Otherwise, you're not really competing. You need to compete up, right? Because it's just going to unlock new things. Like, I'm sure you guys know it. You talk to a business owner that's doing, 5-10 million a year, and it's just they got different problems, like Robin's saying. And I'm like, dude, I don't even know how to, I'm trying to figure out how to lead a weekly meeting over here, and you're telling me you spent 50 grand on lunch? Again, I'm just coming back to this example. But the point being, there's different problems, and so you need to graduate to new enemies. Don't choose enemies smaller than you. Don't have conflict within the house. I had this slotted in here. We already did that. Sharing is caring, if you guys watched Barney as a kid. But that's pretty much all I got here. Any other questions or thoughts before we transition? I know this is deep for you to transition to land insights here in a second, Ari. But anybody else got any thoughts, questions, anything else you want to share before we change topics? Sweet. That was super heavy, all right? And I know that was a dense way to start the day. I was really deciding between do we start the day or end the day with this stuff, and I just eat the frog. I knew this was going to be a tough thing for today. A lot of the rest of this is going to be fun. But I want you guys thinking about what is your fuel going into 2025. Again, it's really easy for me to tell you, here's the sauce on how to have a conversation. Here's how we overcome objections. Here's, the metrics you need to be hitting to get success. Here's how we tripled out. Here's how we follow up with our leads. Here's how we manage a pipeline. All that stuff is great, and I love that stuff. It's technical. None of it matters if you don't know why you're trying to do it. Okay, so wake up in the morning, define that enemy so you know who you're fighting against, get as many of your allies with you so you know who you're fighting against together, and freaking crush them this year, right? Who's ready to have a breakthrough year in 2025? Woo! Let's go.